This is for the book lovers. I'm Nabwire.
I'm Marcella.
And welcome back to Bookish Banter.
So today we're going to discuss Confessions of Nairobi Men. Welcome. My life came undone when my friend Kwame said those 6 words I now wish I could unhear. Why does Junior look like Philip?
Let's take a shot.
Hapo sana sana. Why does Junior look like Philip?
Imagine your friend telling you that your children
don't look like you.
They look like your other friend.
It's a joke. Ilikuwa tu joke.
And then it's a passing statement that stuck with him because sayo unafanya like a couple of
ama wanakaa aje kwani?
Mbona hiyo kichwa it's given and then
it's not our family. But hey,
and then he really tried to like laugh it off like
like haiwezi kwanza hata alimwambia wacha hizo
acha jokes
yeah.
And then he repeated it again with a serious but why though
hebu angalia
uoni venye wanakaa na wewe unajiona
hapa kuna copyright mahali that doubt is just the worst that anybody could give to you, especially if you're a man, considering how the status of men is in Kenya, in Africa, in Nairobi, is kuna mtu anakula mtu wako.
And then for women, like this is my child, like nobody can tell you because you carried the child and but for men there's that question mark of where you can't say I'm 100% sure, especially you never really thought about it until like you do a double take and you're like wait like, you know what but yes, it's giving something and then the party ends when you're sitting with yourself ukimwangalia you start seeing
but you know
anafanana
na mili by the way ama anafanana sijui na nani
you're like, and it's just bothering you over and over like, and then it's something that now you can choose to forget now that it's been put out there. It's just it stays with you.
Yes.
And then just the decisions after that are just like
I think it was in a rush because now he actually did the DNA. For you to decide to do a DNA for your kids, you must be in really high doubts.
I think in such a case where it's like a case by case, if it was like another random person who's not in your circle,
I mean, there's just nobody, brush it off.
Even a friend has nobody to compare this kid to.
Yeah.
Utambiwa tu, na huu mtoto wako akukaangi, full stop. So just like, anaka kama some, my wife's uncle. Ooh. But now this one where there's a photocopy to compare.
I mean,
and then the more you look at them, the more you see it.
Kuna semblance hapa, by the way, what are we gonna do?
Yeah, so it bothered him so much. He went and did the DNA and it comes negative. And then he's like, you know what? And then to the point of he called this Philip. He gathered
his friend. Mind you, Philip is his friend.
Close circle. That's why ndio unamwanga. I know Philip. He's my boy.
Yeah.
My man.
And then now he's trying to think, when did this cordial relationship between my wife and Phil start? Kumbe mpaka hata namuitanga Phil.
And not even that, the fact that when he confronted Philip, he said something like it's like I was waiting for this confrontation.
Yes. I was waiting for you to realize, by the way, those kids, the 3 of them.
For Philip, he actually thought it's just the one because he's like me. I'm gonna tell you, me niwe tu moja, and she's the one who came on to me. And as a man, I was weak. So now imagine this man, like your whole life, he carries first child, second child, third, plus Philip, and indeed. Philip was just like correct. Wakwanza tu wake. So now he's wondering, okay, this
so the others
mine and they are not yours.
Yes.
So my wife is for the streets? Is that what you're
saying?
Mean,
and then I think the biggest challenge here for him was coming to ask the babe, by the way, you have been sleeping around. Oh, that's a big question. Umekuwa ukilala, unazunguka aje under my roof najua aje.
I think for him, it's not even just that you're sleeping around, but that none of my kids are mine. I feel like it would have been a bit better if these other two were his.
They were his.
Okay, fine. You played me this first
probably
time.
Probably you're not happy here. Probably.
But
3 independent babies, they are not yours. You're catering for their school fees. You're catering for what? You make sure that they're doing their homework well. You're giving them protection. But they're not yours. Come on.
Yeah. But it's just how the whole thing just ended up like escalating and and it ending in a suicide. That's so
I didn't understand. Me personally, I did not understand like why.
Yeah, that's the thing. I don't think
she
especially being that it's real life and her thought process and why she felt like she was pushed to that corner of this is my only solution
to kill herself.
Maybe she felt that, hey, finally now he knows the truth. I honestly don't know how to explain this to you,
and it's so
dramatic.
I
don't know how to face you.
It's so dramatic because she kills herself where walikuwa wamejenga nyumba.
They were building, like, this is where we intend to start our life, because that house is just, you can't even live there peacefully.
Can we just talk in these relationships? Can we just say I'm not satisfied? Can we just say I'm not happy? Can we just say, by the way, I don't want to have your kids? Can we? Oh my God, this is too much.
Or she can say, I've been trying with you and it wasn't working. But every time I step out, it works. So maybe
probably
you want to solve
the problem.
Do you want us to talk about it further? But especially that it was sort of phrased in the guise of come, let's talk. And then on arrival he finds she's hanged herself. You can imagine, like, you're coming in, because he took minutes to prep himself. This is what I'm gonna say.
We're gonna talk about this
and then you walk into a whole
she's hung.
And that's as much as they went through ups and downs, this is somebody that he loved and he built a family with. So the shock, the emotions, so many things happening at the same time.
That's too much for him, and I get it.
It's a lot. It's a lot for any human being, especially knowing that he still has these kids. And he said for him, he will never take care of the kids. He will never tell them, and he's okay with the family blaming
I love that.
for the
kids. In this context, actually, in this episode, I wish for us to begin with how you feel generally about the book, about the stories, about the build-up. What did you think how did you think the writing was? How did you feel about the stories? How did you feel about the men? As in, explain.
I feel like the book was very well written. This book particularly was such a big shock. A book where you take constant breaks because, excuse me, what?
What?
You have
Let me breathe.
Like, you close it and you need a breather because I feel men don't talk about what they go through.
For sure.
Even in the book, you could most of them, it's something that happened to them that they kept so deep in them, and it was just killing them slowly, finishing them. So they'll try to drown it with work, with alcohol, with women, something. But something happened to them at some point where they sort of have shame that they feel like they can't talk about it for one reason or another. But it was, I'm pretty sure for this man, in one way or another, I would hope that it was therapeutic for them to just like release and let go. But to the rest of us who don't normally sit where we hear such things, it was good to hear men like release
in their
and
perspective.
Talk. And also just understand that these people, you guys, you're going through it. You're really, really going through it, and you're carrying so many heavy burdens. For sure. And some of it is you don't have to do that. You don't have to carry it on your own. You don't have to feel like you're a failure or you brought this upon yourself. Sure. Some things are not your fault, because like they'd go through sexual harassment at work from another man, like the guy who said, listen, I'm straight, just FYI. And the guy was still like, no, but
and this is the boss
ni wewe nataka. And then it's like, na kama hunitaki, I'm going to twist this story, and this is the narrative that I'm going to tell everybody else.
I didn't know boys could go, guys could go through that kind of treatment.
Because for me, I know guys go through sexual harassment from like
women,
but like
older women,
from men where you forcefully just want another man.
Crazy.
And he's telling you, listen,
what?
And then he's so young, this is his first job.
Now you don't even know exactly like, how am I supposed to react here? Am I supposed to like tell the HR? But you can't even tell the HR because this is the boss who's hitting on you.
Not even the boss. He already shows how manipulative he is. He's already ready to risk it all. Because for this particular guy who went through sexual harassment at work, he did say he always wonders there, what if I stood my ground and said no and like and like called his bluff, what would have happened then? But at the end of the day, it's a risk, because this is somebody who's higher up than you at the office, so you don't really know how to play it. But you can imagine for him, because his first job. He's there trying to, work his way up and everything. And then suddenly another man is pushing him.
A whole other narrative that is being pushed here. And what is this even?
And just the humiliation and shame that he carried on his back, because people around him, like his mom, couldn't understand why did you quit the job, and the fact that he just couldn't say it.
You can't say
so it just looked like he was just like, stuck here, I'm gonna get another one. But just like the trauma that was just around that whole, I'm leaving this job, you don't know what I've been through, you don't understand. But now just the mom being on him the whole time.
This is the thing, actually, just drawing from what you said, humiliation and shame. It's something that the society, they don't want to talk about it, but they know it's happening. It's happening to boys. It's happening to guys. If for example, it would have been easy for us to remove the shame and the humiliation from this and say, this is what I'm going through. For women, it's easy to say, yo, I was raped, or and people be like, oh my God, I'm so empathetic about it. You know, what happened? Oh, that guy must have been, But for dudes, it's different. When they come in this arena, they cannot say it. And the fact that the mom was like, not giving, okay, I can't blame the mom, really.
Yeah, because she didn't know.
Yeah, she didn't know exactly what's going on.
Because in her head, she just thought, this guy just left
the job
doesn't
want to work.
Yeah. Yes. So she's thinking, so you just want to stay under my roof. Just to add on to what you said and phrase it differently, I think just going through sexual harassment, whether male or female, is bad regardless.
Yeah.
Like, it's difficult to talk about. But one thing especially for men, is they'd rather talk about anything else, but like emotional, not even sexual, even just a guy saying, I feel down, I'm a bit depressed. It's like anything but things that they go through.
Let's not get into things that are going to
make me uncomfortable. Let's talk about my team, how my team is doing, and my business. So macho, but just when things are just not okay, when you're not okay, it's not a conversation that's entertained. I feel like in a way, men are their own worst enemies because of that whole toxic masculinity thing. Where you have to be strong all the time. It's like all the time. It's like you're going through so much loss of a job, of a family member, of something, but you have to be macho,
and then you still have to
all
pick up
the time.
Other things for other people.
And so, like, you can imagine, like, let's say, like, we're two men over here, just that creating that platform where a man can come and tell you,
be vulnerable.
So it's rare. It's rare, just men amongst, because I feel like it should start with men creating a safe space amongst men. Before you have
what do they do in the men's conference?
Exactly.
Is it really a men's conference? What do you guys go and talk about?
Yeah.
You need to go and talk about these issues. And now coming into the issues in this book, besides sexual assault, because we've seen sexual assault in the context of sodomy, okay? And that's a big thing in these Confessions of Nairobi Men. Most of the alcoholism, most of the other behaviors of maybe wanting violence, going to
dating multiple women
is rooted from assault.
Yeah.
However, I know that in this book, there are other stories that are not necessarily geared towards sodomy. So let's talk about that first, because sodomy is not, in fact, let's finish sodomy, because I'm like, gayism and homosexuality right now is open. It's something that is out there. So you cannot be forcing someone who openly says that I'm not into this. Why are you forcing this kind of a behavior?
Yeah.
While there are other people who are okay with being in that kind of context, right? So in my opinion, I feel like many people who've gone through forced homosexuality here and then has affected their future relationships, they shouldn't have, because the society already accepts the practice, right? But besides that, there are other themes that we found out, right? Like women, for example, like just being just bad people to guys, right? No. For example, I don't know if it's this book or in the next, I'm not sure. But there's a story about maybe women taking advantage of men and in terms of relationship-wise, how they're presenting themselves in a relationship. is there like an example in this particular book? Can you remember any?
No, not like
maybe it's in the second book, because I've tackled a little bit of the second book. But yes, anyway, my point here is it's not all about homosexuality that trauma comes for these men, you know.
Okay, even with homosexuality, just not necessarily homosexuality, I'll say abuse of men, because like in this particular story there was a man being gang raped and just a lot of sodomy, as you mentioned. I think it all boils down to, as you said, like gayness is something that it's not as accepted, because again it boils down to men being their own worst enemies. But if you're in the closet, or if this is something that you are, instead of forcing it down somebody's neck, why don't you find somebody else who's also gay? Because they're there. Because it's a bit wrong for you to choose to rape somebody, or to use this to like blackmail somebody, and then just give them all this trauma where they don't know how to go about life, they don't know what to do. It's even worse when it's of kids, because kids don't know what you're there to, like the guy who used to put his dick in a baby's mouth, and then he'd say like close your eyes and something, and this child is a child. First of all, you know, you're setting it up as a game. So any child would be, you know, teach me a game.
I've heard
of
those stories, even in those like estates where people are like, kids just randomly play outside, and someone just has this like video game, PlayStation and whatnot. He hosts the boys, but then he does those really bad stuff.
Exactly.
They're like,
and then, you know, they're thinking it's a game. They don't really know.
They don't know.
Yeah, until somebody else mentions, and then this is something that sticks with you. And like for this particular instance, this boy grows up into a man, ends up struggling with his sexuality all along. He has so many questions, like, do I like this, do I not? Because he'd throw himself to girls. He'd want to appear like, you know, I'm a guy, like a ladies man, you know, like I pull babes and everything, but he was just doing it so that you don't notice like the other questionable things about him. He was trying so hard to question, because he saw, was it somebody being stoned or killed?
In
his estate.
And he's so afraid that he doesn't want to.
Yeah, he had that.
I think it was one of his friends or something.
No, like somebody in the estate, like an older person, but when he was young. And now for him, he'd gone through this trauma of like some grown big man with your big age, putting your big dick in a baby's mouth, telling them close your eyes. What is that? Yuck. So now he's just questioning himself. He's afraid of the dad who's like a traditionalist. He just surrounds himself with babes. And then he's in a marriage. But he even says, I know she's not experiencing love, and I know I'm not experiencing love the way it's supposed to be. But because of that fear to sort of experiment,
try new stuff.
And if you think about it now, you've trapped this babe from experiencing also something.
What love is.
So there's just
that's a whole cycle of things and people and
so
trauma.
That whole thing of like, you know, men who just generally men who take advantage of anybody sexually. There's so many people who are available freely, who's like, oh, you want to pay, you want such things. So I think that's like a big topic. But just the opening platform of talking about it, definitely. But amongst topics in this book, something else that came up is black tax again. And I feel like for men, it falls a bit heavier on
it's
men.
Expected for you to take care of people
than women. So you'll find like this guy in this particular story. So he's a firstborn son, and then the first sister after him gets pregnant. He's the one who caters to the responsibility. Gets a second child, he's the one who's catering to the responsibility.
I thought that was really so bad.
And then he used to be guilt-tripped so much. Like, we educated you, we did this. Why would you?
How can you leave your sister? Just continue providing and providing. Did he lose a relationship out of that? I felt like he lost something.
He lost a relationship because he's built a home. He's living with his babe. He
has to choose either or now.
And then the sister came, and then the sister
oh my God, they were living with them
entitlement. And then you want to dictate things around your brother's house. Okay, one thing I'd say for men, I feel there should be that you need to know who you're defending. You need to stand and say,
if your girl, say, this is my girl, this is my house. if you need anything, call from wherever you are.
And I will be able to help you. If you're here, you're here for, this amount of time. Yes. And then also as a guest in your brother's house, whoever's house, even your parents' house as a certain point, you need to understand you're a guest. First of all, understand you're a guest and act accordingly. Because a guest, why are you in my kitchen doing, I don't know what. Know your place and also be helpful. So the siblings were doing too much. The guy had a problem of saying no, which I think is a very, it's a big thing in just African culture.
Families.
Being able to say no when black tax is the conversation, because he couldn't say no at any point, and the parents kept guilt tripping him over and over again until
nicely. They trip nicely, and you're feeling like, okay, well, yeah, but let me just pay. Let me just pay for the maternity. Let me just.
Because for him it wasn't even just paying for the maternity.
It was he ended everything.
Up being a father to 3 kids whilst
it's actually written here. He became a father to 3 kids.
With no relationship. He even put his own relationships on hold to take, and then the sisters are just having kids. And then the one thing that he said towards the end of the book is one thing he's grateful for after he did go broke, because he got into politics and lost, and then the same people he was helping looked him in the eye and said,
"Bruh,
Sasa, politics really, is that really smart? Really? The same people you are helping."
I mean,
so one thing I love that he said towards the end is, I became broke, but one thing that I love is your badenia black tax imenitoka, because best believe these people, their life continued well,
and that's the whole thing
after
about black tax.
I wasn't able to assist.
Yes, and that's the whole thing about black tax, because even we discussed in our previous episode about black tax, that even if you stop providing, imagine they will be okay. You just say no. We are 35 now, we are 32, 30. My capability has reached a point where it can only cater for me. And I'm gonna walk out, but I know you guys are
you're gonna be fine.
You're gonna be fine.
Okay.
So bye.
Because if anything, if you think about it, it's like excusing the baby daddies of these women,
and also making them
take a back seat and be like,
so they have a big brother.
So and they're not taking up their responsibility.
And also the babes they're not taking up the responsibility, because why? Anyway, another theme is daddy issues, and I think, why are daddy issues mostly affecting the male group of people? Because is it that I want to be like my dad, I want to be a better person than my dad, I want to raise children who are upright, better than how I was treated? Because many of these stories here that have daddy issue problems is, I don't understand why this man doesn't love me. I don't understand ni kwa nini tunabishana na huyu mzae, or someone who is like beating the mom, and you're like, you remember, like, I think it was a Ugandan story or something, one of these stories where the dad was just beating the mom, and the boy was like a few years old. And he had enough, and he's like, by the way, stop. Just don't hit my mom anymore. And that comes from that. Naya kasema, like, I'm not going to treat my babe or any future woman in this kind of context. However, this lives with the men. This lives with these men. As they grow up, it lives inside of them. They're like, I saw assault from my daddy. He abandoned my mom, or he did not treat us well. Every time, akiingia kwa nyumba, he's either drunk, or he's doing some type of way, he's talking to my mom, beating my mom, you see? And also, besides your story of sexuality and whatnot, this is also something that affects them, and affects them so badly that they become now alcoholics even, So I don't understand. It's not like I don't understand. I'm like, why is it so much on the men? Why is it daddy issues is such a big deal for men to deal with, that they have to get into alcoholism this bad? Because I've seen it even in our neighborhood. We live in a proper neighborhood, I think. And you can see most people in our neighborhood, we won't touch the name, maybe those ones who know, but most of our guy friends are alcoholics. Why? Because no. I mean, it's just part of life, right? However, However, if you listen to stories, you can hear probably it's something related to their past traumas, related to how their daddies treated their mummies. If you just listen to those stories, what is your opinion?
To respond to that,
but you don't have to say names.
I'm definitely not going to say names. When in regards to your points, I feel like you've mentioned several points. So when it comes to daddy issues, I think it just probes to the thing of wanting, a father figure. First of all, somebody who accepts you, somebody who chooses you, who loves you, especially in that dynamic where this dad chose to leave your family, and then you can see that he went out and started a whole different family. That's always something that just comes back to you, where you'll find the son is questioning their self-worth. Was I not good enough? Is it something about me? So you'll find things like they're overworking hard. They just want that approval, that pat in the back that you're doing good job, my son. How it sort of comes out, as you said, alcoholism. I feel like with things like alcoholism or abuse, it comes out one of two ways, or maybe there's more. With people who've been raised by an alcoholic dad, you'll find it's extreme ends. They'll either become an alcoholic or they will never drink. Violent people, they'll either become violent or they will never be violent. So it's either or, because you've seen this growing up. And I'll say one of the things in this book was the guy who knows that his wife is having an affair. He knows it, but he's not telling her because he doesn't want it to end. Because in his head, he knows he went through that phase of questioning, why did my dad choose me? And he doesn't want to leave the wife, because essentially leaving the wife will be like him leaving the kids and have his kids ever having that question mark. So because of that, he'd rather turn a blind eye to like the wife having an affair. But I don't think it's the word would be sad. It would be he's just trying to cover his kids, because he knows the self-worth battle that he's had with himself of, am I good enough? Am I this? Am I that? Am I that? And just to cover his kids, he's like, I'm going to stay here because I want you to know. Because at the end of the day, I think he does love his kids. He's there for them. But he doesn't want them to ever question anything in your life, but never question my love for you, how I am there for you. Man. He's definitely a better man. And he's one of those, where he still has the trauma, but he's not passing it down to his kids, because most times you went through something, you passed it down to your kids, and they passed it down also, and passed. So he's trying as much as possible. Acha mimi niumie, but not my kids. I will cover them as much as possible. And such dads, you'll find when they're old enough, I can tell you know what. Oh, when they're old enough, they can split now, at least to grown in everything. It wasn't anything, because with divorce, sometimes the kids also question themselves, like, are you guys splitting because of us? Is it me? It could be like, is it because I failed that test or something like that? Because you always internalize such things, and it has nothing to do with you. But for him to be like, you know what, ndavomilia kitu, but me, my kids won't question anything about me as a father. One thing about me, I will be a good father to my kids. And it comes down to like such things with daddy issues, where you might have gone through it, just like you said with the previous episode. Some things you have to end it with yourself, just so that you don't bring it down to like break the cycle. Don't usishukisha to your kids and then their kids like
you
that.
Have to be intentional about how you're going to treat the next generation.
So if you have traumas like about violence, then you don't want to also be violent to your wife. If you're having traumas about things like alcoholism, then you try as much as possible not to like be like the same to your kids. So I think that's one of the things. But it's definitely understandable why men struggle with daddy issues. Just wanting that validation, somebody else wakwetu aseme, you know what, son, I love you. And then that's something else with African society. Just the affection. I love you. Just the I love you, son. Right now, a man would call his dad, or like vice versa, and be like, Dad, I love you. And the dad would be like, hey, uko jela, uko hospitali. They are thinking the worst. You're either dying, you're in jail. Something is seriously wrong.
Or they'll just say, sawa.
Like, it's like, this is... And then they'll turn to your mother and they say, wait, ongea na huyo kijana ni kama ama ameachwa. Something. It's just like, it's not normalized, just that having affection, even just like having like a hug or, comforting a male friend when they're going through something. It's like, it's seen like, oh my gosh, why are you gay? No, it's just like, I feel like it boils down to being comfortable in your sexuality, where you can pour into another man's cup. Like, you're going through it. And also just being able to discuss these things.
Provide a space where... I have one last thing here, because we are here talking about how men are inflicting pain on other men, how men can be really bad people also sometimes. We need to acknowledge also the role of women in men's life, in the role of women in their decisions, in conclusion, actually. Because there's a story here of a man who loves this lady. In fact, at a sea story moja, there are so many stories here where even outside, all the pain that this man is going through is caused by this lady, right? In this context, let me quote this one. This mama this guy, chapter, I think you have it on your notes. Let me just quote it. It's chapter 11, I think, right? So this guy is born in a poor family or something. Let's see, chapter 11, not chapter 11, chapter 10, where he's a matatu tout, right? He gets this babe, but before that, there's a relationship with his father. Is it this one, Kweli? Is it this one? I had seen a story here. Why am I missing it?
Where the dad wasn't his dad.
Yeah, but then also in that story, Badu Udem inflicts a lot of pain to him, and he ends up, I think, being sick or something, and he has to go back now to Ocha, and now the babe just disappears, and now the dude is now being taken care of by the mom. I'm not exactly sure what happened, but I feel like the story here, the lesson here was, imagine this guy, ametoka mashinani, he's coming to Nairobi to look for a better life. And yes, he's gone through whatever trauma he's gone through with his father. He's lost his father. He wants to come to Nairobi to get a better job. He gets a babe who gets pregnant, and then all of a sudden, I don't know if the babe decides to disappear or he gets sick. And then now his mom has to come for him, and the babe does not go to see him to hospital. But he goes back home, back to zero. And I'm like, what is the role of women in these relationships? Because if your man is down, the concept here was, if your man is actually down, why are you disappearing? Okay, yes, we want a better life, but when do mekwane from the get-go? So how are you leaving him now when he's probably on a hospital bed, or probably he's down without money, or he got sick and now he's paralyzed, for example? Now, it's not even in relation to this book, but the concept is he was down, but the babe disappeared, and now he has to go back to his mommy to start again from zero. Now, when he recovers again, he comes back to Nairobi to start. Yeah, you get the cycle
from the ground. Yeah.
And also, what is our role as women in supporting this man? What exactly are we doing? Because as we are here to take care of ourselves, no matter what. If you're not giving me whatever you're supposed to give me, I'm just gonna go to the next. And that's a bit of a selfish. I feel like that's very selfish. However, in the man's side, in the woman's side, is like, I'm looking for a better life. But can you see how it's affecting our men?
Yeah.
Because he's gonna meet another babe. He's gonna meet Nabira, and he's gonna treat you in some kind of way, but he'll never trust you because of me, because I left him when he was down. You understand?
Yeah.
So it's a cycle. Like, I think we are constantly feeding in this society. And when I'm concluding now, like my part, I feel like, based on this book, honestly, let's support this man. Okay, fine. Men can be tricky, They can be, 50-50. However, if you find a good man, or not even necessarily a good man, let's say I'm going to be a good babe. Let me say I'm going to give 100% in this relationship. I'm going to be the 1% who's going to give my all. If the dude is not going to give me, I'm going to leave and go to the next. However, I'm going to be the one person who makes the change to support these people. Let's talk about it. Create safe spaces, because men don't talk about these things. We're going to be vulnerable. And I'm going to give this book a 4.5. I feel like it had a lot. And considering like we've moved from women to men, we are all going through life, men and women, and everybody has their own specific and spectacular experiences. But yes, we shifted from the boy child, but maybe we can give them a little bit some more love, maybe a little bit of 10% from the 50% we're giving the women. We give them a bit of 60, because they also are expected to hold the whole community. So 4.5 for this book. And so much love for the guys, Paulini, for whatever they are going through. A lot is expected of you, and anything that is, you're given a lot, so you have to respond and give 100%, even 110. But we're going to support you where we can, in my opinion.
For me, my take would be, I feel like everything boils down from a place of self-love, self-healing, self-growth, self-awareness. All these things start with self. And the whole dying with your problems is one thing that was consistent for men, where there's just a lot of shame, a lot of what will they say about me? How will they look at me now? And I think even maybe probably for the men, after reading this, maybe they had that, oh, okay, somebody else went through this. Oh, I'm not alone. Because probably for the longest time, they were moving with the, you don't even understand what I've been through. Because maybe they were speaking to, a girlfriend, a sister, who would relate. Because no other man has been through a situation like them that they are aware of. And when they're around other men, they have to pretend like they're okay and everything. So I think it just starts with that. This is a good start where they're talking about it, they're opening up, they're discussing. I think that's a good place. Just self-forgiveness, accepting that you did not do anything for this situation to happen to you. It's just life that happened. And I'm a big advocate of men having other men that they can talk to. If as a man, can you stand firm and say, I create a safe space for other men? Is there one of your friends who can be like, hey, can I talk to you? And you won't judge, you won't throw this back at their face when you're having a fight, you won't be, no man, such things, because that's what makes men not want to open up, because they're seen as, oh, now you're weak, oh, now you can't keep a woman, oh, now you such things. So just men creating safe spaces for other men, and just having sessions where they can talk about this with the Joans of the world, and with therapists, with family, and it's okay, and you're not alone, and you didn't do anything to provoke the situation, and you can move on from it, and it doesn't have to be like you'll wake up the next day and it'll be okay. It's a process, and sometimes healing is a journey. And it's not like a straight line. Sometimes you'll be doing okay, then one small thing will trigger you and take you back to ground zero. Give yourself grace. But overall, I'll also give this book a 4.5. I think, again, this was written really well. Again, it's really difficult to just be able to write the stories of other people. But highly, highly recommend. And men, talk to each other. Thank you for
us too.
Thank you for tuning in. Till the next one. Bye.